today I'm going to interview Gabrielle Guyton, and Gabrielle works in the Family Centre. She's worked there for a number of years, and she's written an article for YC Young Children, and Gabrielle's going to hold it up now. So, and that was 2011, and so I'm going to ask Gabrielle some questions about how she came to write this article and the process that she went through to get it from the idea into that magazine there. Okay, so let's see, the first question I want to ask is, how did you get the idea for writing this article?
It's sort of a, like, roundabout way, because it came from my imp. So being a graduate student here at Bank Street, I work with Virginia Casper, and she also works in other countries, so in South Africa and different parts. And so we were looking at what children were playing with in South Africa and what was happening there, and after sort of investigating that, we came up with my imp, which was around making homemade toys and materials that are available to children where they're living. So after that, then Virginia was like, I would like to be able to use this when I'm doing my work in other countries, and it would be awesome if you could figure out publishing and things. And so really, with her guidance, then I said, okay, I'll try. And so wrote this article about homemade toys and intentionality and what teachers could do, and trying to keep in mind what could be in different cultures as best I could.
Okay. Okay, so we talked about how you got the idea. So, and we've talked, and we kind of know that your Virginia Casper was your mentor,
Yes.
so we've got that part done. Did you have any other, do you know anybody else that had published, and so that gave you the idea of like publishing as something you should be doing or you could do?
Yes, actually my husband, so he's in biology, and that field thinks about journal articles and thinks about publishing regularly. They even have journal groups where they'll meet once a week and they pick an article and they all read it and critique it and think about what that writing was like and what, and was that a good idea? And, they sort of think about it more, they just think about research more. So him and I talk about that, but I also have high respect for our field and believe that, that education in young children should be thought about just as much as scientists are thinking about their field. So I often, in thinking about reading journal articles, what research is out there, and is it good quality? And I do think it's because I have that comfort level and that talk from hearing it from my husband, who's in this other field that does a lot of publishing. Like, that's a regular common, like, what'd you publish this year? The pressure and talk about is a norm in their profession. So.
All right, okay, so let's see, next question. Why did you pick YC Young Children?
Well, I think many reasons. One, of course, it's NACY is the education of young children. It's like nationally respected organization around educating children and teachers. So, and definitely who I was thinking about, which was teachers, and like what you could do with children in a classroom, that is the target audience, versus if I had done some sort of research, then maybe 0 to 3 might have been a better journal topic. So thinking about what I wrote about and then who the audience would be, I think is partly why I picked young child, but also, of course, that I was familiar with it because I read it and I read journals and of any kind, and so since I was comfortable with it, I think that the combination that I think is the right one, and then also that I have familiarity.
Okay. So I see young children.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of prepare to write or submit an article for them? Because they have a particular kind of format, don't they?
Right, yeah. I went online and they have resources for submission guidelines.
Oh, okay.
So And I know, again, from like my husband, and then from in my first master's is in psychology, where you read a lot more journals. So I know that different journals have different formats, and I know that there's different submission guidelines depending on your journal. So I went to Young Child, and Young Child has what's called cluster topics, and so you can look and see for the year what they want to talk about each month.
Okay.
And then they have when you have to submit by. So I went through and looked at what cluster topic I thought matched, and then chose, and then looked at their guidelines about how they wanted it written, and then I submitted that way. But they give it to you,
Okay.
which is good.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Perhaps I just ask you about the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty.
Okay.
Like, how many kind of rewrites did you do?
Well, by the time I submitted to them, then they just requested like one more rewrite. So then by the time so first I submit a proposal, then they say yes. So then when they say yes, then I write it.
Okay.
And then I send it in by the deadline. And then at that point, they have it reviewed, and the reviewers write their comments. And so there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 different professionals who've reviewed it and said, oh, you should have different types of names or something. Like I didn't name the teachers the way they thought, or you should have, you should have a bit on safety, like toys and safety. And I think I had a little bit, but they wanted more like wood and what chemicals could be in wood. Maybe I'd only had done choking or something, you know.
Right.
So they added little details about what they thought, and then I redid that and then sent it in. So at that point, there's only like 1 or 2, but beforehand, definitely many.
Okay. All right. So you just got to keep at it.
You just got to keep. And I definitely think a friend reading it, like somebody who's not in the field reading, is as like sort of an editor / do you make any sense?
Sort of naive reader.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
that's great. So, because I think, oh, everybody knows this. This makes total sense. And then somebody who's not early childhood is like, I do not understand what those words mean. And, so I think it's really great to have, like, not only should you have somebody read it and edit and, check, but someone not in your field, I think, actually is really helpful.
Good point. Right. I was going to ask you about citations, references, and bibliographies and stuff like that. So I noticed in your article you've got maybe about 10 references. So most journals tell you how they want you to cite it. And they'll just tell you that in their submission guidelines, how they want to do it. I think, and you know this so much better than I do, but like EndNote or whatever, you can just put journal titles and they'll just tell you. So once you find out what they want, there's lots of resources on how to do it. Yes.
They definitely had guidelines, like it couldn't be 10 years old.
Oh, okay, that's
like
interesting.
That,
all right.
Which for a Bank Street grad was a little tricky because like the block book, that's from the 70s, and we have a lot of, and the 70s was an amazing time for toys and homemade things and innovations for children, but you cannot use any of those. So
interesting.
I had to find all resources that were no older than 10 years at that point. Yeah.
All right.
So.
Right.
That was tricky.
Okay, so, I've, of course, read the article. Was there anything surprising about, like, how it was laid out, or, like, you'd written all the text, and, like, when you actually found, when you actually read it, it was like, oh, okay.
I think that was not exactly the title.
Okay.
So something along that, but...
Okay, so the title was a little bit different.
The title was a little bit different. This child, I don't know.
Okay, so you took some of the photographs?
I took some of the photographs and then they added some.
Added some, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But then, and then I was pleasantly surprised that, how these little boxes look, you know, so it's not like all negative, but like then you're like, oh, look, it's turned out so cute.
And there's also a big chart.
Yes.
Did you make the chart, or did they?
They requested it. I had one, but I don't think I submitted it, like, because I do think in this way, but, so it was sort of a pleasant surprise that they requested it, and I forgot about that, but that was something they said, oh, can you make a chart? And so, I think I tried, and then that way it helped me be able to share, because you don't really get much space, right?
Not
like,
really.
in the end, you're like,
Right.
maybe 3 pages, but with pictures.
Yes.
Not that many. So it made it so you could talk about more toys. So that was nice. It was like, you know, I have examples of toys here, but then I got to do a whole bunch more. But they requested that, and so then I made that. This picture is the cutest picture that got put in there.
Right. Yes, that's my daughter.
Just for the record, that one was really cute.
Right.
Oh, here she is again.
Yes, that's right. Two photos.
Two
Wow.
photos. She's famous. But, yeah.
Okay. What about things like author agreements and things like that? You know, because you copyright and
Right.
things like that. So.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned, like, I naively was like, whatever you want.
Okay.
Right. That, you know, I'm
Yeah.
fresh out of graduate school, never been published, and they're saying, yes, whatever you want me to sign, I'm
Right.
signing.
Okay.
So, I don't remember the exact details of that,
Right.
but, and it's worked out, whatever I have signed and done has worked out for me. Like,
Okay.
there's been no problems going forward. This article ended up in a book, like a developmentally appropriate practices for infants and toddlers,
Right.
and they chose this article and they put it in one of their NACI books, and they just informed me and sent me the book, and so, I mean, I don't know enough to know, like, if there's a problem with anything.
Right.
You know, like if I needed it and I couldn't have something.
Right.
So at this point, it's better that I say from NACI than
Okay.
from me.
Right.
So
Okay.
whatever I agreed to.
Do you have any future plans to write again? Because I know you did mention something
Yes.
about.
I'm working on it now. Ideally, I will get the proposal by August. There's, I can't remember the exact title, I should have written it down, of the cluster topic for August.
Okay.
Or, well, the submission is due in August. But, so my colleague Sarah Willis
Okay,
and
yes.
Margie in the graduate,
Mhm.
Margie Brickley in the graduate school, we are doing a mentor project with teachers in Asheville, and so we fly to Asheville, North Carolina, and we observe the teachers, and the teachers come here, and we do a Skype mentoring
Oh, wow,
thing, and it's
okay.
a year-long project, and helping those teachers sort of develop their skill and a deeper understanding of child development and teaching. So that collaboration I want to write about, because I just really think it's a good thing to be able to do, especially bringing Bank Street out into the world.
Right.
So it's partly a Bank Street motivation for me, but also just that I know that teachers all over the country don't get the same training,
No.
and they're
Right.
not even expected to have the same amount of training, and then often teachers can't afford that, and so how could we be able to, you know, help children and help teachers in sort of a affordable way. So it's definitely like a work in progress, but I think even that work in progress is worth sharing with somebody else, which I think is ideally the best way to write an article, right? Like you have something that you think someone else should hear about.
Right, yes.
So even though that's not how I ended up in the beginning, I do think that's probably the best way. Like something happened in your classroom, or something happened with your co-teachers or something, and you really think this would benefit others to know about it, and so you want to write about it and share it. So from that perspective, I would really like to pull off writing this mentor article.
Okay.
And there is a cluster topic for a young child on collaborating or something like this, that it seemed like it would fit.
Right.
So we just have to pull that off by August.
Okay. All right. Well, Well, I just want to thank you very much for your time, because I know you have a very busy day.
No, but
So, I'm glad you did come today, because, you know, I really do want to help
yes.
Bank Street
Right.
grads to,
Yes.
you know, write something academically, and we're here for that job.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Katie.
Yes.
Mm.
You're welcome.
All right.